Hey everybody, welcome to Koru-Cottage.com's review of the Nacon Revolution, which is a PS4 controller. It's been a third-party release from Nacon, so it's not actually an official Sony controller. It's from third-party, but it's still pretty high quality and finally something for us to stack up against the awesome Xbox Elite controller. So anyway, it's got some pretty good packaging. Straight away it says, yeah, it's a quality consumer product. The controller is pretty slick looking, to be fair. The first thing you'll notice is, depends on what camp you come from, but for me, sticks are in the right place. So it's got the offset Xbox sticks. It's got metal shafts on the stick and metal surrounds, so no more grating plastic on plastic and getting that nasty ring. It's got pretty definitive looking Xbox One type controller triggers and bumpers, and the actual overall finish of the controller is like a rubberized plastic or a brush plastic. It's really nice to hang on to. The sticks are different. One's got the Nacon emblem on it and is a 46-degree throw stick, so it gives you a big range of movement, and when tuned right is really nice to use. Now, I used it on a few games and also tried out some of their shortcut buttons. In Uncharted I put jump underneath to keep my fingers on the stick all the time so I could use the camera. It's probably more benefit in multiplayer, to be honest. And then in Destiny I did something similar, so I put jump underneath and reload underneath, so then I could keep my fingers on the sticks all the time as well. It's pretty handy when you're going up in a raid or in multiplayer, just cruising around doing patrols, maybe not such a big deal, but the option's there, and when you get used to it, it's pretty cool. So putting it up against the classic DualShock 4, this is my launch control pad. Granted, it's got some Xbox One sticks on it because I prefer the concave stick compared to the original DualShock sticks. And first thing I noticed is how small the DualShock feels after using the Nacon. Nacon's actually pretty big, not Duke size big, but definitely sits bigger in your hand. And that's even when you compare it to the Xbox One controller. Once again, it's definitely bigger, but I don't think it's to the detriment of the controller. It still feels nice in your hands, and it's still got what I reckon are some of the best triggers and bumpers around, which is essentially very close to the Xbox One. Now the left stick is nicely tuned. You can't actually alter that in the app. It's just tuned to DualShock standard and feels really nice for controlling games like you saw Steep before. Now weight wise, you might be surprised, it's bigger but it's wired, so it doesn't have to hold a battery. So there you go, that's the Xbox One and the DualShock standard. Now the batteries are in the Xbox One as well. So 215, 288, and no weights in it, 223. So it's right in between. You can put some weights in it. I put bigger weights in the heel of the controller, and that's more because it's cabled. I feel the balance of the controller is too heavy at the front, and that's because I've been using wireless controllers for so long. Now the cable itself is still pretty high quality product. It's got metal fittings, it's braided, it's not going to fray or kink. The controller comes with its own wee carry bag, which is cool, I suppose. But this is an interesting sort of a feature, and I've never seen this on a controller before, is that it's got removable chambers. Like I was saying before, you can put different weights in. Now the weights that I tend to favour are heavy, and that's to offset the weight of the cable, as I was saying. But you can put 10 grams in, you can put 14 grams in either side. You can have different weights. I don't know, I think you'd have to be a bit of a pro, sort of a gamer, to really care about where the weight distribution is in your controller. But hey, it doesn't take anything away from it. It doesn't take anything away from the finish of the controller itself. It's really slickly implemented. They don't rattle or shake or anything inside. You don't even know they're there. So it's a pretty good piece of design. Whether you use it or not, that's completely up to you. Now the controller has some pretty well implemented design features around the triggers. They feel dampened or a very consistent sort of tension. The DualShock 4 just feels like a piece of plastic with a spring stuck on the end, and I've never particularly liked them. But these are fully tunable. You can adjust the dead zone on them, you can adjust the responsiveness on either side so they can be really snappy or not. Don't have the trigger rumble like an Xbox One, but they do have the very similar feel and that similar sort of constant tension on them. The underneath buttons, so the shortcuts or the macros, they can't be both. You can program them to be anything from jump to hitting a button and it will do 5 or 6 button presses on your behalf. Great for a fighting game. So I've just plugged it into the PC, and blue light means stock standard PS4 tuning. So the sticks and everything, they feel really nice to use. Very, very smooth movement. But when you change it to red, the movement stays the same, but the input response is different. You can tune it however you want, and you can have 4 profiles all tuned differently with different mapping or different macros, whatever you want. It's pretty clever, and you plug it into your PC and you can have it in, reprogrammed and out in like 2 minutes. It's very, very straightforward to use. Haven't done a lot with the macros. I think it's more of a fighting game thing maybe, but you can have it red or blue, flick of a switch. Those 4 stock profiles that come in it, but you can change them to however you want and change the response nature of the sticks, the dead zones, the responsiveness of the triggers, everything. Big movement, little movements, however you want your M1 to M4 shortcuts set up. It's pretty good. I reckon I tuned mine to Destiny pretty well, and I was snapping onto targets faster with the Nacon than my normal DualShock. It definitely felt that way anyway. The control has pretty much all the stock fittings that a DualShock 4 has, except for, and this is a bit of a pet peeve of mine, it doesn't have a little speaker on it, and I reckon that's a real misstep. I really like picking up audio logs in single player games and them coming at you out of the speaker. It sort of, I don't know, puts you in the world. And the cable, I don't know, I don't like cabled controllers, but I prefer it over the DualShock 4. What can I say? It's a really, really good controller. It's really well put together. I rate it highly. Thanks. Catch you later.